I started the lesson before jumping straight into the piece by using a warm-up, which is a triplet shifting exercise. Once we get into the meat of Death and the Maiden, there are tons of triplets that are constantly flipping between different parts, between violin 1, violin 2, and then jumping down to cellos, etc. Um, and I wanted to make sure that they're comfortable, one, just feeling the triplets before we actually start the piece, and also comfortable shifting because there is so much within the piece itself. 2, 3, here we go. At this point, I bring up the idea of anchor points, which are notes that you can always check to see if the intonation is true. So for instance, on a violin, any note that corresponds to an open string, so E, A, D, or G, regardless where you're playing it on the instrument, you can always check with that open string to see if you're actually on the right pitch. The idea of the anchor points isn't a new idea for a lot of the students, but for the new students coming in, especially the freshmen who may not have heard that term before, it's important that I put that in their ear and let them know that when they're practicing, they need to always be looking for those anchor points just to help check intonation and just give them general practice technique. Occasionally, I would check, for instance, violins, this first finger G will sound the same as your open G down below. So once you shift, check that with your open G. If it's good, keep going. Yep, my G's still in tune, and I just keep going until I hit another anchor point. We spend a total of about 5, maybe 7 minutes on the warm-up, making sure we can get all the way through that. Throughout this entire process, because we are virtual, I'm able to share my screen with them. And unfortunately, with the screen recording software, I can't record both the Zoom screen and the screen that I'm sharing at the same time. So for the majority of this video, you'll be seeing my shared screen and not what the kids are seeing and what I am seeing. So on my screen, I have a second monitor where I'm able to expand the kids out into a grid and see all of them playing simultaneously. And I'm able to go back and say, oh, I saw a bunch of violins struggling at this one point, or it looked like we all successfully did that. Let's move on. All right, reminder, we're gonna hold the first note as long as we can, release the bow, come back to the frog for the up, down, up, down. And then during the rest, you're gonna stop the string with your fingers. We don't want it to vibrate all the way through. That's something that we may change later on, but for right now, I love a stark rest where there's no ringing or anything. I think it just adds to the drama just a little bit. So at the beginning, come back to the frog for the up, down, up, down. Okay, can we just do the first 2 measures and we're gonna do it on repeat. So just play with me. 1, 2, ready, and. Okay, and make sure you're stopping the string. And sorry, I'll give you guys an extra minute to get your notes figured out. All right, here we go. First 2 measures, and we're just gonna put them on repeat. I'm watching bows. Do not do this, where you use 6 inches of bow. Whole bow, and come back. It's gotta be violent. This whole piece is violent until we get to the fun side. All right, here we go. 1, 2, so 1, 2, ready, and. Put it on repeat, and hold that first note as long as you can. 1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, and then circle back to the front. Good. And if you are able to, either move your camera down a little bit or move your stand, however it is, so that I can actually see what's happening with the bows. I see a whole lot of this. I can't really see anything. Perfect. Okay. The idea is that we're all going to circle at the exact same time, set our bow at the same time, and play those really crisp. Okay. All right, here we go. First 2 notes, or first 2 measures, and 1, 2, ready, and. There it is. Good. After that, it's stark difference. First violins, pianissimo. And we talked, once you hit those accents, it's really gonna be a left hand accent, not a right hand accent. Does everybody know the difference between the two? All right, so right hand accents where you're putting pressure on the string and pulling with a fast speed and releasing, and left hand accents where you kind of zing it with some vibrato. And it makes it just stick out of the texture just a little bit without being too loud, because we're still in the pianissimo texture. All right, let's go beginning with everybody, and we're going to keep going this time. And 1, 2, 1, 2 big bows, and pianissimo. We'll do a big slowdown. 1, 2, ready, and good. All right, any questions on the first 8 measures or 12 measures? It's not too bad. Only quick little notes I'll say is if you all can see my screen, yes? Hopefully, good. All right, these will tend to sound picky for the first violins because we're trying to be really short. So if you can, get a little bit of space in your bow stroke, and you're going to want to be pretty close to the frog. Then this quarter note, everyone needs to play the same length. It needs to be a full quarter note. Da, 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 dom, rest, rest. Ba, 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 bom, rest, rest. Ba, 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 bom. And then we're going to talk a lot about this over the year, but groups of 3 happen all the time. Have you all seen Hamilton?
I try really hard to come up with analogies that I know the kids will, one, understand, but also easy enough to remember long term. And with Hamilton having just come out, I figured I would go ahead and throw this in there, and hopefully most of the kids would understand. And for those that don't, at least make the concept easy to understand.
Some of us, most of us. If you haven't, it's on Disney Plus. I'll give you my password. Go in and watch it. It's great. But it's something that happens in theater all the time, but it definitely happens in music and in virtually every art form, where somebody says something one time, and then they say it a second time, and then they finally say it the loudest the third time. And in Hamilton, a good example of this is how many times does the king come onto the stage? You know, da-da-da-da-da. You all know that song, right? 3 times. Yeah, the first time he's very friendly and happy. And he gets a little mad at the end. And the second time he's pretty mad. And the third time he's really mad. And I won't go into it too much right now, but it's the wordplay is brilliant because he talks about how they're driving him mad, and he's known as the Mad King. But the same thing happens here, where we have this, and you get it again, and it gets a little bit higher the second time. And the third time, finally, we all come in together. So the third time needs to be the most. And there's no crescendo written here, right? But it's implied by the fact that we're doing it 3 times. Again, style characteristics, things that you just need to start picking up on. These up bows are going to be on the string. And what's the name for that? Up, up, up without actually stopping your bow. Portato. We've talked about that term. Everybody just go to an open D. We're gonna pulse on a down bow. And the technique for this is that the bow never stops. What we're doing is we're adding a wave motion to it. You guys hear the pulses? But the tip of my bow never stops moving. That's a portato. And you can do a soft portato, which is what that was, or a start. And that's the one that we're going to be looking for, where I actually push into the string and I grip it. Okay, so let's go to an open D. We're going to do 4 downs, 4 ups with a portato bowing. Okay, here we go. Are people lost? Cora, what's going on?
Oh no, my computer just went crazy, so I'm just getting it back up.
Here we go. 4 Ds down bows and 4 Ds up bows. Ethan, you ready to play? Ethan? By the way, as you guys look at your classroom participation grades and you're like, why did I get an 85 in orchestra? Because of stuff like that. We're not being this. All right, here we go. 4 downs, 4 ups. And let's do the soft portato now, where we're just doing a simple wave. Just a nice even pulse. Ready? And 1, 2, ready? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Keep going. So if we were playing something really gentle, I would do a soft portato bowing. Here, basically just putting a bunch of hooks in a row. So let's do it a hard portato. Ready? And 1, 2, ready? And. Feel that you're gripping the string. So when we get to these measures, the bow never stops. We're still driving down because we have 3 notes in a row, right? Pom, 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 pom. That 4th note's going to be the most important one. So we all do a little crescendo to 10, and then we come back. And then do it again. And then we get to these whole notes. And Liam, to your question, let's see the answer. The fermata is going to be on an up bow, which for some of you might be a little bit uncomfortable because we actually have to do a decrescendo through those measures, okay? All right, let's do beginning, and then we're gonna keep going. When we get to the fermata, just hold, and I don't mind if you just stop playing because there will be a gap, and I'll say 3, 4. And then we'll keep going. All right, beginning, as loud as you can play without making a gross sound. Here we go, 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and 2, 3, 4. Now quiet. Portato. Vibrate every note. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3,